All right, next up, we are going to give our 2 cents on the NBA All Star Game. Two big NBA nuts here on the Conscious Approach channel. We have been watching the NBA since we were toddlers, which means we have been watching all NBA All Star games since we were very young. And you know, the NBA All Star Game has certainly evolved over the years. Whether that
Devolved.
evolution has been good or bad depends on your perspective, but it has evolved nonetheless. It's hard to argue against that. Um, the most recent NBA All Star game was played this past Sunday, which was what was Sunday, the 17th? No, the 18th. Sunday
18.
was the 18th. Was the most recent NBA All Star game. Both the East and West teams combined for 397 points. If you watched the game, it wasn't really much of a game. I mean, really, you can barely consider it an exhibition
Boy,
because preseason games are exhibition games, and preseason games are more competitive than this game was.
agreed.
Um, but Stephen A. Smith, just to provide a little context here before we go off on how we feel about the All Star game, Stephen A. Smith was on First Take, of course, and he didn't like what he saw either when it came to the All Star game. So this says Stephen A. Smith calls NBA All Star game an absolute travesty following low effort contest. Stephen A. Smith is calling out NBA players for showcasing a lack of effort at this weekend's All Star game. Sunday's event was another low effort affair that set the record for most points scored in the game's 73-year history as the Eastern Conference became the first All-Star team to surpass 200 points in its 211 to 186 victory over the Western Conference. On Monday's episode of ESPN's First Take, Stephen A. blasted the NBA's All-Stars for being uncompetitive in this year's contest, which he called an absolute travesty. What transpired last night was an absolute travesty, Smith said. Nearly 400 points scored, no defense, no effort whatsoever. This is the ultimate indictment against NBA stars who show up for All-Star weekend. You play harder in the summer league when you're training. So I want to go ahead and play a clip of this. So that's enough of the words here. So let's check out what Stephen A. Smith actually said during that episode of First Take, which was the Monday following the All-Star game. So of course, lessons learned. We are no longer playing embedded Twitter clips. We are now just going to go straight to the source. But here's what Stephen A. Smith had to say about the All-Star game on First Take.
Stephen A., is this All-Star game fixable?
No, not as presently constructed. Shannon Sharp, I'm of this mindset right now. They need to do away with All-Star Weekend. Just get rid of it.
The whole weekend?
No. Let me finish. The three totally good with. The three-point shooting contest, not just Steph Curry and UNESCO, who were fabulous, but the overall three-point shooting contest never cheats us, never disappoints us. They're going out there, they shoot, trying to make shots. There's nothing wrong with the three-point. I'm talking about the skills competition. I'm talking about a slam dunk competition. And I'm talking about the All-Star game. Let me start with the All-Star game. Ladies and gentlemen, what transpired last night was an absolute travesty. Nearly 400 points were scored. No defense, no effort whatsoever. This is the ultimate indictment against the NBA stars who show up on NBA All-Star Weekend. You play harder in the summer league when you're training. That's all anybody's asking. We all know that when you're playing in the summertime and stuff like that, ain't nobody trying to get hurt, but you still give one another effort because you're working on your game. You can give the fans at least that. Nobody's asking you to compete like you're going up against the playoffs or even a regular season game. But when you are working out at summertime, Shannon, you know this, okay?
Yes.
You see guys giving effort in the summertime. That's all I'm saying. To that degree, that is not hard. The fact that you will go out there and flagrantly show such a lack of effort on the defensive side of the ball in any capacity is just a travesty. Now, if you want to sit up there and look at the fact that the kids are there to watch you, that's fine because they may not care. But anybody that knows a basketball does, and we know it's a flagrant lack of effort and it's embarrassing. And we know if money was on the line, you'd be giving more effort, even though you're already getting paid hand over foot. It's really a travesty.
All right, so Stephen A. obviously thinks that it's a travesty. I watched the game. I watched it. My devotion and commitment to the NBA. I watched the game.
You
I
watched
did.
that?
I watched the whole game. I did. I did. I did. I did. I watched the whole game, bro. Um, I'll let you go, but yeah. So, what do you think, man? What do you think about the All Star game? How broken is it? Is it fixable?
No.
Why do you think it's so broken? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
All right. So I agree with Stephen A. I think right now they need to just get rid of it. It might be a thing where I put it on pause, maybe for 5 years till people are hungry for it again. And then bring it back like a McRib. Maybe people, yeah, maybe then people will start going crazy for it and have anticipation about it. But I think there's a number of factors at play here. One, now I can attest to when we were coming up, bro. So, and this is circa 2003, 4, 5. All right, where we were hearing from older people about and the complaints about us running to the 3-point line instead of, on fast breaks, running to the 3-point line instead of cutting to the basket or taking advantage of the 3-on-1. And I always looked at myself as somebody that was a basketball purist, if you will, and I should make the right play. So I even though I would want to be out there on the 3-point line, if I see the other guys running out there on the 3-point line, I'm going to be the cutter. And if you don't want to pass it to me, that's fine, but I'm going to do the right play. So, but people didn't play like that. They didn't think, they didn't have that IQ. And what ended up happening is it proliferated. People want to blame Steph Curry. This was going on before Steph Curry. So then once analytics and all these other things came into play, those guys that were doing that and within our cohort, they grew up, hit the circuit AAU. That was proliferating. That was everywhere. And that mentality of let me run to the 3-point line, let me get this jumper is in the DNA of guys like KD. So these guys, Steph Curry's in our cohort. That's what I'm saying. This was before he hit the scene. They were already doing it. That's why when Steph hit it, it was like, oh, okay, yeah, this is what people were doing anyway. He's just really elite at this. So the point I'm trying to make is it was a natural evolution or devolving, whatever you want to call it, of the mentality of the people that were playing at the time. And this is a generational thing. This is generational behavior. The newer guys that are out there playing, the Cunninghams, the Jalen Greens and stuff like that, they're the crystallized version of that. And it's just completely hollow. And so when you unleash the all-stars amongst each other, they all have the same diva mentality about the game. What it showed was, what that game to me showed was every complaint that everybody has been having that are basketball purists, if you will, about the game lately, about how these guys are not honoring the integrity of the game. So much so, it boiled over into this cesspool of garbage. I bet those dudes were high-fiving each other when they hit 200, not knowing they're embarrassing themselves. That was an embarrassing display. I agree with Stephen A. I feel like it was a travesty. I would have used more aggressive terms. But he is being sanctioned and paid by the Disney Corporation, so I'm pretty sure he had to keep it level-headed. But honestly, I was disgusted by it. I looked up in my phone because, I played a little showdown on DraftKings with it. Nothing serious, just dudes that I always play with. And I saw the score. I said, what? To what? And then last thing I'll say, I don't even know how Lillard won MVP. It's no shade, but Halliburton was going crazy. But I guess those half court shots, man, in the circus, I've seen better Harlem Globetrotter games. Now, if they were playing that level of defense, but they doing Harlem Globetrotter stuff, like that's entertaining in and of itself. But they weren't even doing that. It was basic lobs, lazy layups, and ridiculous logo threes. So, what are your thoughts, man? What about the All-Star Weekend? Can we fix it? Do you agree with Stephen A? Should they ban it? Should they McRib it? What are your thoughts?
No, I think it's permanently broken. Yeah, they can't get rid of it, unfortunately, because and I forget who brought this up. I think it was Chris Broussard who brought this up.
Mm.
NBA, the week of the NBA All-Star game is like the NBA's equivalent to Super Bowl week for the NFL, because in addition to the game itself, there's all the hoopla and
Festivity.
corporate stuff and the festivities going on around it. So it's the showcase of the league annually, in the same way that the Super Bowl is for the NFL. So unfortunately, they can't do away with it. It's going to stay around, but it is permanently broken, though. I don't think there's any fixing it. I think it's broken forever. And I think the reason why it's broken forever, I hear everything that you're saying about NBA players and style of play and diva mentality. And granted, all of that is fair. But I also think that this is symptomatic of how the media has ruined basketball. And I brought this up before. I think one of the plagues of NBA basketball is ring counting culture. I think with the NBA more so than any of the major sports is we determine how great a player is based on how many rings he can accumulate, as if that's this easy thing to do. Oh, just get 4 or 5 championships like that. Like, everybody can't do what Jordan did. Everybody can't do what Kobe did. Everybody can't do what Magic did. Hell, I don't even like the guy, but everybody can't do what LeBron did. Everybody can't do what Steph did. Winning one is like otherworldly, okay? But what the media has done because of Michael Jordan is they have reduced the worth of a player's career to how many championships they can win, to the point where nothing else matters. So what has happened with NBA players is they've responded to this climate. And what they've done is they've deprioritized every other aspect of the NBA season. And they've made everything about playoffs and championships. So the regular season has become deprioritized to where I would say 65 to 70% of the games aren't interesting. The NBA All-Star game is completely deprioritized to where it's a sideshow. It's a circus of an event. Like I said,
Circus.
NBA preseason games are more competitive than the NBA All-Star game, which has the best player. Like during the Jordan era and during the early 2000s, the thing that made the All-Star game so interesting was that these dudes knew that they were all the best players in the league. So it became a litmus test. Like they came into the game saying, yeah, we're all the best, but who's the best amongst the best?
Right.
And so they took the game more seriously because a lot of those guys wanted to prove that even though we are all elite players, the elitist among the elite, I'm even better than y'all. So that's what made it so compelling to watch, because that's how seriously they took it. But because of this ring counting culture that they have thrown into the NBA, now these players are saying, I don't care about. That's where load management came from. That they tried to attribute it to analytics, and they tried to attribute it to all of this other BS that doesn't matter. But where I believe the true source of the embracing of load management came from organizations and teams and front offices and the players collectively realizing nothing that we do during any of these moments is going to matter. I can average 35 a game. If I lose in the first round of the playoffs, or if I lose in the finals, they're still going to call me a bum because I didn't win a championship. So why should I care about any of this stuff if all you're going to do is call me a bum because I don't got rings? They don't do that in baseball. If you're the home run king in baseball, you get your credit. If you're the RBI king in baseball, you get your credit. You know what I'm saying? If you scored the most goals ever in hockey, you get your credit. Like if you're a dynamic quarterback in the NFL and you put up all of these passing yards and threw for touchdown. Drew Brees has 1 Super Bowl in his career, but he put up all of them numbers with them passing yards and them touchdowns. He's revered in terms of how they view him all time in his career, even though he only won 1 Super Bowl. No one's saying he's a bum because he only won 1. But in the league, they do that to these dudes. You're a bum because you don't got 5 championships, 3, 4, 5 championships. So I feel like these players have just responded to this stuff. It's why KD went and played for the Warriors. Yeah, they might talk about old Draymond Green and they went to the Hamptons and they convinced KD to come and play. Okay, whatever. The reason why KD agreed to play for the Warriors was because he knew talent wise, he's top 10 all time. He'll never get recognized as such because he ain't won no championships yet. So he tried to reverse engineer the system and put himself in a situation where he was pretty much guaranteed to win because he was on by far the best team. If this ring counting culture wasn't part of the NBA, I don't know that Kevin Durant makes that same decision. But he was responding to this bullshit that they do with the NBA now. So unless the media changes, it's going to be permanently broken. Now, if you get rid of ring counting culture and you dial this stuff back to where some of these guys start caring more about things like regular season games and all-star games and individual accolades like all NBA and all of this stuff, then maybe it will improve. I don't see that happening because you'll continue to turn on to these sports shows and hear these gas bags like basically relegate these guys to being misnomers because they didn't win 3 championships.
Bruh,
So that's why it's a sideshow. That's why it's broken now. If you don't fix that, it'll continue to be broken.
But and I'm gonna say this, bruh, and I agree with that. The quality of everything right now is bad. It's bad. Raise your hand if you agree, y'all. Everything sucks. I don't know what your last fast food experience was like, but I'm pretty sure that food was really trashy.
Oh, yeah.
Trashier than usual. You know what I'm saying? You can really taste the industrial ingredients. Then we look over at movies right now. Actors really can't act anymore. Have you guys noticed that? I've noticed it. Then when you watch a movie, the scripts aren't really scripting anymore. It's kind of like it's AI generated. There's no soul in there anymore. There's not any real script writers anymore. People can say to me all they want that, oh, well, scripts get written and submitted all the time. So people, what I'm getting at is the creativity across the board has gone down. I blame commercialization. I blame censorship within that as well. What they have created is this ambiguous figure, like this thing where you can't offend anybody, you can't do anything, you can't, and it becomes this shell of a thing. All right, another thing. Have you guys eaten at a buffet before? Does the food really taste seasoned? It doesn't. They can't really put seasoning on that because everybody's going to eat this. There's some people with a heart condition. There's some people over there. So the food tastes a little bland. So you might need to spruce it up a little bit, add a little salt and some pepper. The reason why I brought that up is that what everything is being served right now, in my opinion, has become watered down. Everything is watered down. And in the arts specifically as well, things aren't really hitting anymore. Basketball is an art form. What we're witnessing on the basketball court is the art of the game being played, but they're not playing the game as it was intended, as the art form that it really is. Same thing going on with rap. Technically, they are hip hop, if you will. They're rhyming on beat. There's 808s. There's this, whatever else you want to incorporate that makes it hip hop. These guys are actually doing it, but they're not hip hop. So the same thing's going on right now on the basketball court. All right. If there is a thing out there where people are still being a purist in it and it's just as trill as it ever was, or it's better than it ever was, please let me know. Because right now, everything that I've witnessed right now is the worst version of it. And so my thing is that the NBA, the NFL, all that stuff was hitting in the 90s. And it's not no nostalgia stuff. Those guys really cared. And they played the game for reasons. Basketball was, you remember, I used to go to sleep with a basketball because ball was life.
Yeah.
So now with this kind of generation that's going on, where it's me, pay, yeah, Instagram, follow, likes, trending. I'm in Paris. I'm at the gala. I'm wearing a kilt. There's too much going on. So that's why whenever I'm watching a basketball game, because I do like Cade Cunningham, because I feel like he plays basketball for real. I like Shea Gilgeous-Alexander because he plays basketball for real. And he's a purist amongst the crazy stuff. So there's guys that's littered throughout the league, but it's not our superstars. and we got King James, the prime example of it, of somebody who embodies this generation of player empowerment and all this other stuff. Last thing I'll say is that what if you want to look at it, these are the spoiled kids when mom and pop then let their foot off the gas. They hollering, they want their allowance. They're yelling at mom and dad that they want their allowance. I didn't even get one. So the guys that's that's the old heads that was like, hey man, we used to catch these type of things. We used to catch buses. You guys are getting charter planes. You guys are getting guaranteed cash. These guys are set it up and spoiled with their little poodles and their hot tubs. So when we're looking at these guys that are being divas, those are the guys that's chasing rings. Those aren't the purists. They're still purists in the league. But the guys that's chasing the rings, the divas, the this and that, the ones that want to stay in the news cycle, yeah, who started that crap? And so I just think it's just too much going on with these guys, and they're not playing the game as it was intended to be played. And so that display of trash was quite honestly, because I looked at I was trying to look at the highlights. I was like, how was 200 and something points scored? And even on NBA's YouTube thing, the highlights were 5 minutes. I've seen Pistons name a sorry team, Wizards highlights that were 9 minutes long. So y'all didn't have at least 10 minutes long of highlights of 200 some points. It was embarrassing. So yeah, man, I can go on too about these clowns, because I am very disgusted that they're just messing up this thing that I love, just like my rap and everything. Everything's going to shit. Excuse my friend.
Yeah. Yep. Everything is going to shit. It is. I think it's a compounded thing that we are observing. It's definitely multiple factors, but and the thing is just the constant defense. I'm all for players being given the empowerment, if you will, or rather being given the power to be able to call certain shots so long as those shots are commensurate with their contribution. But there is an element to this where it's like the NIL and the transfer portal in college football. In theory, on paper it's okay, but the way that it's being executed is completely a sideshow. And you can't just live in a world where everything is deregulated. And that's the thing, is everyone wants things to just not have any regulations, no boundaries, just do what you want. Everything is just out here, and you can't just live like that. And these guys in the league, they get to benefit from the mantra of player empowerment to the point where it becomes a detriment to the game itself and to the fans, to the point where, and then when you bring up things like fans, there's a complete and utter lack of a regard for it, because the media is so far up the asshole of the NBA players in terms of defending everything that they do on the bounds of player empowerment, that things have just gone all the way left. It's sad. It is. It's a joke. You want to tell me that less games being played is better? How can you make that case when these guys have hyperbolic chambers and hyperbaric chambers and personal masseuses and round the clock treatments and the most advanced medical staffs that are being paid for by ownership? They're flying on chartered planes. They're not even flying first class. They're not commercial. You know what I'm saying? It's private, and they're staying in the 5-star luxury accommodations, and yet they have to sit out games because it's too hard on the body.
Not great.
And all of these things obviously are contributing to the complete and utter degradation of the product on the court. But I do think first and foremost, what they need to address is this idea that all an NBA player's career is the accumulation of championships. It's a part of the problem. It's ruined the way that you can consume the league, because it has effectively altered the way these guys approach their playing career. It has. They have completely deprioritized every aspect of their playing career outside of the playoffs. And it's in direct response to the way that the media treats this league, which is you're worthless if you don't have multiple championships, as if that's something that's so easy to do. So it's sad. I'm with Stephen A. Smith. I think it's garbage. You can call me old if you want to. If you want to call me old for that, you can go kick rocks. But this shit is trash, and I don't think it's fixable.
Sorry.
Not fixable.
Don't
Yeah.
at me on that one. It's trash.
Yeah.
Uh,
There's nothing in the world that's gonna convince me that it's okay for me to just sit around and not pay attention to my favorite league until we're 6 months in the postseason. Then, okay, yeah, now let's pay attention. So these previous 6 months, irrelevant. Now we can start paying attention during the playoffs. It's garbage. It's
Bro,
garbage.
honestly, what they're doing right now is no different than because I mean they need the Vegas, so it's just for the regular season's for Vegas, not like the playoffs ain't, but it's just for Vegas, man. It's irritating, dude.
Yeah, it's disgusting. Shouts out to Stephen A. Smith. I'm with you on this one, bro.
Yeah, this time, bro. This time.